our Spotify's popping, our Apple Music's popping, our YouTube Music's popping. And you can get a residual income from making a track for the rest of your life. Like, you're always going to get paid for that track. Every time it gets played somewhere, you're always going to get paid. So that it's like future investments for your family, if anything. It's like your pension. As a lyricist, that's your pension. Like, my daughter will get paid when I'm gone if I make a massive track. You know what I mean? And that's what I like. I like the thought of it.
Good. I was going to say good afternoon, but it could be any time when people are listening back to this. I'll just say hello. Welcome to another episode of the Real Junglist Podcast. Today we are joined by MC Tanz. Am I actually saying that right? I don't know if I've seen you down as MC Tanz. It's just Tanz.
No, it's just Tanz.
Just Tanz.
Tanz.
And would you actually call yourself an MC?
Kind of, but I like to think of myself more as like an artist, like a musical artist. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I've noticed that actually. Because I've noticed that often hashtags are hashtags, but I've noticed that you use the hashtag UK rapper a lot of the time. And I thought to myself, actually, you don't. Yeah, really. I've never seen you actually perform live. But obviously I've been following your Instagram for a while, and I guess you come across more of a rapper rather than an MC.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I was before I started MCing, like on to drum and bass, if you know what I mean, because I come from a background of family from East London and West London and North, so through marriage and things like that. So I started lyrics really in kitchens, just for my boys, just spitting freestyle really to grime beats and rap beats.
To grime and rap. And then so how old are you when you sort of started out?
When I started with the drum and bass, I was quite late. I was 33. It came about by I was following one of my best mates' brothers, who was a DJ, and I started going to the local night in Oxford that he was putting on. And then I just stood there watching the MCs, and I was thinking, I reckon I could do that. Without a clue about knowing how to do it, I just thought, I reckon I could do that one day.
You could just kind of feel that vibe. What kind, is there a particular type of drum and bass that you like to sort of perform with, or are you sort of quite flexible in that sense?
I enjoy any kind of beats. So like my music that I've made in the past ranges from like rollers, the liquid. Obviously, the way I come into it was mainly through the drum put nights. So they were the first beats I was like hearing, and I was trying to spit on, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't put myself in any box.
You don't like to speak to anyone, but interesting. That's going to be my next question, because how would you then describe your style? Like, how would you describe that the way you do things?
It's strange because obviously I come into it quite late, and a lot of people when I first performing, they say, "You don't sound like an MC. You sound like a rapper on drum and bass." Which is probably what I like the most, because it separates me from everybody else, if you know what I mean. So when I first started, I couldn't double time. I couldn't double time like the lads was doing. I had to learn from scratch, to spit quick and things like that. Yeah.
And how did you learn that? Was that just like a lot of hours in the bedroom going over and over?
It was. I'll be honest with you. When I started, I never had any lyrics written down. Nothing. I didn't know how to write a 16 bar. I didn't know how to count a 16 bar. I just freestyled to beats and make it up in my head as I went along. But I had bars with it, so I could just pick bars out of my head. And then I got involved with. I'm from Leicester originally, but I've moved to Oxford, so I got involved with a local promotion team here called Volume Drum and Bass. Got friends with a lot of them guys, started handing tickets out for their events, working on the doors for them. And a guy called Alman, became very good friends with him, and literally I followed him for probably a year and a half to every single show he did, just watching him and supporting him. And like I picked a lot of tips up from him, and he showed me the basics to writing bars, counting the beat. The best way I could describe it to anyone would be so solid. 21 seconds is 16 bars.
Yes.
And that's what he told me. When he told me that, I could write 21 seconds worth and know that was a 16. So that's how I started. Yeah.
Because that song, that's So Solid, 21 seconds. Everyone got 21 seconds. Was that 16 bars then?
Everyone had spit 16 bars on that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, and that makes.
He says, "I need more."
Yes, he says. What does he say? I forget what it is now, but yeah, no, I used to love So Solid. Game changers. Okay, so yeah, coming into it quite late. Didn't actually ever write your own. Didn't actually have your lyrics written down. You used to do. You had that freestyling. Where did you sort of start out then? So where were you actually performing when you sort of began? What kind of gigs were you doing?
Like I said, with Volume, I started. I ended up back at a kitchen party after an event with my friend who was the DJ at the time, Pete K's name is. And I was speaking to the guys that was running it, which is Alman and Bids. And I said to them, look, I want to get on stage and I want to try that out. And they said, Tanz, you can try it out, but you need to write your lyrics down and you need to know what you're going to say before you say it, because you can't just go on there and say any old thing and you might say the wrong thing. So after they told me that if I ripped my lyrics down, they'd give me a chance. I brought a notebook, I brought a pen. I came home and I just writ bars. I've written for hours and hours and days. My brother-in-law came round once and I popped to the shop and there was all these bits of paper all over my living room, everywhere. Like literally, you come in my living room for a good solid 2 months and there was just bits of paper everywhere. And I was reciting all the lyrics and remembering them. He thought that something bad had happened to me. He thought I'd written a load of letters, like because I'd gone to hurt myself or something. He was really worried. So he phoned all my family up and they were all on the phone to me going, are you okay? Are you okay? Mark's found all these letters from you. But there was my lyrics. It was all my thoughts on paper. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That but in that process in itself must have been quite an experience for you to actually get it all out of here and actually to have it onto paper.
Yeah, definitely. Because I had started on Instagram a long time ago now, probably 5 years ago. I was just putting beats on and I was just freestyling to them and uploading the videos. And I thought they was really good at the time, but now they was like, they're not.
Gotta start somewhere. Humble beginnings.
Yeah. Sorry, I come from I did performing arts when I was young, so I got a natural diploma in performing arts. So script reading, and I could always remember the script, all my lines to the performances that I was doing. So when I was writing my bars down, I found them quite easy to learn and stick in my head quite quick, which really helped when I started out.
Yeah. And so performing arts, what we do? So you were acting. What was that on screen, on stage?
I was doing big stages. I was doing stuff like cabarets at college. In Leicester College, I did a national diploma in performing arts after school. I did all the school shows.
And do you feel like that? So you sort of said that background has helped you sort of memorize your lyrics and stuff. Does it? What other sort of skills do you think that help? I guess even just being on the stage and being able to maneuver around the stage as well.
Not letting the audience bother me from early, where I didn't get nervous because I was used to being on stage in front of people. So having my stage presence and being confident on stage, actually speaking and projecting my voice, really helped when I came into being a performer. It's kind of hand in hand, like, because some people you'll see,
and so when you took,
and they won't even look at the crowd; they're just looking at the mic, and people now still get nervous.
And you need that as a raver. Like when you're in the crowd, the MC is it's the master of ceremony. So that person's the entertainment. The DJs is back there doing the DJ. Sometimes they get involved, but you are really just looking at the MC. And so when you've got someone high energy who's moving around the stage, first person that comes to mind, I remember when I first saw MC Navigator, I was like, who is this guy? Because he was jumping about the stage, and I was like, I love this energy. It really does make a difference when you're on that side of the when you're down in the crowd. So when I think about energy, then what's your sort of vibe? Like, how would you describe your presence on the stage? Are you sort of speak to the crowd? Like, how would you describe it?
Yeah, well, like I've learned to host before I could MC because I never had that many lyrics when I started out. I didn't have, like I said, I'd get all these lyrics down, but it's nowhere near what I've got now. So I couldn't even, when I started out, I couldn't get through an hour set just spitting bars. So where I'd watched Owlman, he was hosting for like K-Motions, people like Dutta. He was doing some pretty big shows. And they didn't always want someone just barring all the way through. So he taught me about crowd interaction, obviously, talk to the front row, hype people up, and like he always told me if you can get the first 2 rows, that energy will just go back through the crowd. So yeah, just little things like pointing at people, going, come on, and like hyping it up. Yeah.
It does. It gets you so hyped as well. You're in the crowd and you feel like the MC's actually talking to you. You're like, he saw me. and then actually, that's a good point you just made there, because these are things that I just would never think about. So you said when you started out, you didn't have enough lyrics to do an hour set. So does that mean then, when you're going when you're going onto a set, you know that you've got an hour's worth of lyrics, and then how do you change it up for these? Like, say if you've got like 2 shows in a weekend, or you're coming back to the same venue.
Well,
in a sort of close proximity of time. How do you?
Because I've got like an arsenal of songs that I've made and actual tunes with hooks and things like that. So some shows, if I'm borrowing with other MCs, say like we'll get onto it later, but now I'm at Higher Level, we wrote a lot of songs together, a lot of tracks together. So say Swift will spit a lyric, and that'll spark the bar to that lyric that I've written.
Yeah.
So I'll just bounce off what he said and I'll go with it. So they all kind of relate as well. So it makes the performance better. Say we're talking about flames, or we're talking about big batty girls and things like. Do you know what I mean? Like it just kind of it sparked me. Like I'll spit a lyric and it will spark them off.
Yeah, I love that. So, that's brilliant.
And like if I'm performing with volume, like me and Alman have got tracks and bars that we're doing, so we'll use them bars then.
It makes sense, because actually I'm thinking about how you just go by the name Tanz now, don't you? I think when I first started following you, you were Tanz Volume, but that's because that's where you were part of Volume then. Now it's Higher Level, so it's Tanz HL. It all makes sense.
HL,
yeah. I can't believe I'd even made that connection before. Wow. Okay, so all right, I love this question, because what would you say? So you said you've been doing drum and bass for about 4 years, did you tell me?
Just under 4 years now. Yes, it's my 4th year doing drum and bass. Yeah.
That is crazy. Do you know, sometimes you just feel like someone, I mean, I think I've only known of you for about 3 years or so. I think 2 or 3 years. I really can't remember. It's lockdown sort of time. But it felt like you've been doing it for ages. And I had DJ Temper on the last episode, and I felt the same about her as well. I felt like she'd been doing it for years. She's been doing it for 4 years. You've been doing it for 4 years. It's like, I'm just like, I guess maybe in drum and bass years that is a long time for sort of our sort of generation, you know, because before that, then you've got the people who've been doing it for decades type thing. But what would you say is your most memorable moment of your drum and bass journey so far?
Most memorable. It's hard because I've had some good ones. I remember I was at I went to Sport Endo, just went out for the day with him in Swansea. I think it was Elusive Fest. Might not be Elusive or something like that. It might not be Elusive. Don't quote me on that one. Sorry if it wasn't. But he was doing a festival with Stammer in Swansea anyway. Big festival. And we was all sat backstage, and then a guy that I became friends with by supporting his music online, Gavin Fernquest, like real good MC, like real talented dude. From grime, he's made like the transition from grime to drum and bass. And he was there, and he was like, Tanz, like, yes, good to meet you. I'm going to bring you out on stage later. And I was like, wow, are you? And he was like, yeah, you coming up to do my set. So he got me. I only went to watch, and he brought me out on stage, and we ended up 3 or 4 of us hosting to Turno. Turno turned up without an MC. So at the end of the set that we'd done, Turno turned up, and we ended up staying on hosting for him to about there was thousands of people in this tent. There was loads of them. And that was very
That
memorable,
is
just
mad.
being there like, wow, we're MCing for Turno. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then how do you even get into the mindset? Turner's brilliant. How do you even get into the mindset? Like, because I mean, first of all, I don't MC, but if I'm somewhere not known that I'm going to be doing work, I'm there as like little party and stuff. I've had my few drinks. How did you switch your mindset to like, oh, actually, I'm actually on stage. I've actually got to perform now.
I think where I joined Higher Level, obviously being around Shabba, he started putting me on lineups that I wasn't getting on, and bigger shows, like doing his own shows, like Off the Hook and things like that, and performing on the same kind of night as your X-Mans, your Evils, your Azza and Grimer. So you've always got to be ready. If you're going along with them boys, you kind of in the back of my mind, I've always got to be ready. So I stopped getting drunk at shows. I stopped partying when I went to shows. I tried to always maintain like a professional level anyway, even if I'm just in the crowd, because you're being watched 24/7 in the same stuff. So yeah, so I'm always ready to jump on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the same for DJs as well. You know, one of the things that people keep saying to my sister, because she's started DJing now, is like always have your USB, always have it ready. You just never know when you might be able to jump on and do a set. So yeah, I think that's actually really good advice for anyone listening who's, you know, sort of coming up in the scene, isn't it? Like, just don't. You are always being watched. It's still work, I guess. Even if you're there as a rave, you're still, you know, influential in that way. People are looking at you. Yeah, you never know when you might have to jump up on stage.
That's exactly that.
Brilliant.
Always be ready is my advice. If you're an artist,
yeah,
especially coming through, just always be ready to be called up, because someone might not turn up, and then the promoter might say, "Oh, Tanz, you're here. Do you want to jump on stage and fill that slot?"
That could be such an opportunity for some people as well, can't it? Like for you, you know, you get regular work, but for someone who maybe doesn't, that's probably, you know, that could be potentially life changing.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've done quite a few collaborations. How do you choose? I think even once I sent I think, who was it? I think it was Wiser, and I was like, oh, you should do a track with Wiser. You're like, I've already done one. I was like, okay. You've literally done so many collaborations. So how do you decide who you're going to collaborate with? Like, how do these collaborations come about, and how do you sort of pick out artists that you want to work with? What stands out in an artist to you?
Well, go back to Wiser. I ended up working with Wiser because just before lockdown, when I'd only been started a year, so I was only really working with volume, doing my little freestyles online, and writing my bars and then performing them online on Instagram, getting a bit of love from people. I don't know if you know Toddler at TNT from Coventry.
Mm-hmm.
Standard procedure. So they was putting me on their squad up nights. They started putting me on the squad up nights. So they were showing me love online, and lockdown hit, and I just got a show on the O2 in Oxford, and lockdown hit and cancelled 2 shows that I was ready to perform at the O2 in Oxford. And I was absolutely devastated. I thought, this is going to be my big moment. Like, this is the peak of where I'm going to ever get to, and it's been crashed by lockdown. So I was sat at home one day. Everyone's online moaning about COVID and all this. And I decided I was going to do an online competition called Dragon's Pen, which was a minute of your best bars, upload them, and then you got to nominate an MC. And it went wild, like wildfire, because nobody was doing anything. And I must have had well over 100 entries easily from quite famous rappers was doing it. There was everyone in the scene was doing it. I had Shady do it.
Wicked.
I ended up getting Shabba on the track because I'd linked with Shabba in lockdown to go fishing. That's another story.
That was.
That's another big story, yeah. But we've got then Wiser ended up doing it. So I had to pick out of all these MCs that had entered. Some I didn't even know who they was, and they was really good. You know what I mean? So I had to whittle them all down to like So like, I think it was. Let me think. There was. I think there's eight of us in the end, 7 or 8 of us, and we put a vocalist on there as well. So that's how I ended up choosing Wiser, because Wiser's cold. Wiser's really good, like very talented MC. So that's how the collab with Wiser come out. Kinetic on it. Decoy, he was showing me a lot of love. MC Decoy. Then Toddler was on it. Kinetic from Northampton, we put him on it. Man like AC, MC, I got him on it. And I did have 2 other people on it, but they couldn't get the bars in time because it was lockdown, they couldn't get to the studio. So Shab had phoned me up and he was in the studio with Swifter. And I was like, oh, Shab, I need to fill 2 more spots on this. He was like, I'm in the studio with Swifter. We'll send you a verse now. We'll record it and send you a verse. I was like, yes. One of my biggest collabs is probably with Mr. Traumatic, where I was just, I'd always like supported his music online, always shared it and things like that. And I got a message one day from him saying, yo, Tanz, like, big up for supporting my music all the time. I want to do a collab with you. And I was like, wow. So I'd like never asked for it. He just got hold of me, and I was like, yes. And now I've got to write the best bars I've ever written.
Yeah.
So we got a beat from. I'd already had a beat from Frenzy, his producer / DJ, and I'd written a hook for it. So I sent it in an email to Traumatic, and he was like, yes, this is cold. I'm gonna write 2 16s. He was only going to ever do one, and he was like, "We're going to do the whole track with you." He made a track called Cookie Dough, which he ended up putting on his album. He chose it and put it on his album, and that was like mind blown. I've still got the CD now. I've never even opened the album. I've never even opened it. It's still in my drawer.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so nice to hear the story behind that, because I remember Cookie Dough. I remember. For me, I think that was the first time that would you say that was quite a turning point for you, like that particular project?
Yeah, definitely. That track really, really like made me believe in myself that someone such a big MC like that would want to work with me. It was quite overwhelming, really. Like, wow, yeah, like these people at the top really like are feeling what I'm doing, and they're really believing in my abilities. So yeah, it was really good turning point.
I think the other thing I'm hearing a lot in these conversations is like the power of social media. You talked about, you know, the fact that you just like, without wanting anything in return, you know, sharing people's work, interacting with people. That's how we network now. That's what I mean, back in the day it used to be called social networking. Now we call it social media, but that's what it is, isn't it? And actually just that's the way of getting on people's radar. It's important not to do it for that reason, but equally it's important to be a part of the community, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember Azza and Grima run a competition after Dragon's Pen. They run like an MC competition with a beat, and I remember I was probably the first one to enter it. I was that excited by it. They was gonna pick people and talk about their bars. I actually uploaded a video, sat here, and the sound was not very good and not good quality. And Love to Decoy, he messaged me and he went, Tanz, them bars that you put for that were really, really hard. But the sound quality is not great. Just take it down, go and record it in the car and re-upload it. So within an hour of it being up, I took it down, into my car, re-recorded it, and then entered it to the competition. And they ended up picking me in the final top 10 and was doing my bars. So I still have the recording of that now. Like, it was mad. So that gave me a big confidence boost as well. To know, like, I probably wanted to be an MC because I'd watched people like Azza and Grima, because they're like grimy bars, you know what I mean? They're like grime MCs on drum and bass, if you know what I mean. They're like the new era of it, if you know what I mean. And the words they're using that I can relate to and what they're spitting. So yeah, when I remember watching them on 1X with Harry Shotter, Azza, Grima, Brett. I don't think Skibber was on that one. With Charlie Truck. X-Man was definitely on it. I know X was working on it. Just watching that was like, wow, yeah, I wish I could do what them boys are doing. Like that's my flavour. Do you know what I mean? I'm feeling that.
And in terms of, because that is sort of what's I guess just sort of go off on a bit of a segue there, because you sort of talked about people who are sort of like more like grime MCs, but are, you know, spitting bars on drum and bass basically. Is that something that, because you sort of talked about coming from a sort of grime background as well, is that something that you still dabble in, or is that something that you still listen to? You still sort of, you know, keeping up to date with the sort of grime world and garage and things like that?
Not as much now, not really, because I listen to most of the music I'm making myself now. So I'll still when I'm in my car, it'll be the grime playlist on Spotify. Do you know what I mean? I'll still listen to that. I'm still feeling that. So, I always looked at it as kids from the city was more into rap and grime, and the kids from the outside countryside, they was the ravers. They was the ones that was going to the free parties when I was growing up. They was listening to the drum and bass, or I was listening to the rap and the hip hop, like American hip hop as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So and I guess do you borrow some? Are there some artistic influences there as well, like from the US hip hop? Are there people there that have influenced you artistically?
It's like I'm more like, I like my bars, I like my punchlines, I like my play on words. Well, I can say one thing and it will sound like I'm talking sense, but I'm actually talking about something else. Like I remember a friend of mine showed me Evil, and his wordplay is crazy. Do you know what I mean? And he's from like the garage, and he could do rap. So when I've come into this, I've never like just wanted to be a drum and bass MC anyway. I've got other songs that I've made, like I don't know if you've heard Council Kids. I've got a tune called Recollect. But I've got other rap music that I've put out. So I will always make different types of music.
No, I love that. And I love, you're so good with your play on words. And when I listen to any artist out there who's good with their play on words, it's one of those ones where you're listening and it's that sentence is long gone, and then suddenly you just clock what they've said. You're like, hold on a minute. Yeah. And that's, I think it's just so clever. Like I just couldn't be that smart. So it is a real talent. It is a real talent. You've definitely honed in on it. So no, props to you. What would you say your plans are then? So thinking about the future for you, like you've got lots of things that you've got going on. We will talk about some of the projects that you are working on as well. But where do you see yourself going as an artist in the future? What are your plans?
My goals or my plans, because my goals are to be on the biggest. My goals are the biggest stages that I can get on, isn't it? Like, I'd love to host a set at Glastonbury. I'd love to go to the O2 with a bunch of MCs and take over the O2 Arena as an MC now. Do you know? And I like, just like, I want to keep making music. I was so shocked 4 years ago when I come into it. No offense to them, but the MCs that are around, that are on the circuit, they're working every single weekend, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. And the amount of music that was actually out there, MC led, wasn't a great deal. It was more DJ based tunes played. You know, it was like an 8-bar and then the drop. It wasn't all MC led tunes. So when I first came, I probably came into it at the perfect time. So I remember listening to Aslan Grimer was doing it. Traumatic always done it. And then like you had your J Wills and Low Beans. I was Spookers and Ouija. I remember them making a track that I really loved, and I was like, yeah, like, this is where it needs to go. We need to make it that genre. So I think the perfect time for me to come into drum and bass as an MC was then. Because now the amount of music people are putting out, regular music now, it's like people putting tunes out every month, not just one artist or 2 artists doing it. And even the legends now, they're making regular music.
It is quite phenomenal how quick, how often people are releasing tracks now. It just must be so much easier now with the technology that we have. But I do find it so impressive, like how many people putting tracks out on a weekly basis almost. I'm just like, how are you doing this? But yeah, I guess it's just all the technology that we have now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and you can record lyrics at home now as well. So like a lot of these MCs now, they see how Spotify's popping, how Apple Music's popping, how YouTube Music's popping, and you can get a residual income from making a track for the rest of your life. Like you're always going to get paid for that track. Every time it gets played somewhere, you're always going to get paid. So that it's like future investments for your family. If anything, it's like your pension as the lyricist. That's your pension. Like my daughter will get paid when I'm gone if I make a massive track. You know what I mean? And that's what I like. I like the thought of it.
Yeah, yeah. Is your daughter into the music that you produce and stuff? Is she a fan?
She is more now. Now she's a bit older. And her friends have started like, because I've done tunes with certain people that they've heard, and they're like, God, the dad's actually all right, and he's quite good. You know what I mean? So I'm not.
Yeah.
It was a bit more embarrassing for her when she was a bit more younger, but now she's quite old now, so she's happy for like a friend to play my tunes around them and things like that. And she'll even get in the car now and she'll put the massive drum and bass playlist on or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
She actually showed me God on Go when that first came out. Yeah, she showed me that tune. She went, Dad, listen to this drum and bass tune.
Oh, that's brilliant. So you're officially the cool dad then.
Yeah. Eventually.
So you talked there about your goals. So you want to do big stages, you want to do big shows. But what are your plans? What are your plans for the future? Like what do you feel the next steps are for you, or the next what's next for you, do you feel?
Well, I see myself like Higher Level. We've just been signed by Urban Agency, which is quite a big move. So I'd like to keep pushing that with the boys, to try and get ourselves cemented as a force to be reckoned with in the drum and bass scene, if that makes sense. Like, we've been putting the work in now for the last 2.5 years probably, and we've made a lot of music, and I just want it to be heard by everyone. Do you know what I mean? We've got good energy on stage. We bring a lot to a show, so we really want to push that this year. And as an individual, I enjoy hosting as much as I enjoy barring. So like doing the tracks that I've just recently done with the guy from Australia, Bomb. That was more of a DJ-led track, and that obviously it's come out on Crewcast now, which is doing really well, and all the DJs are playing it. I want to start making more DJ-friendly tunes as well. Just try and spread Tanz out there, so I can bring more to the High Level group and more to myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you say DJ-friendly tune, what does that mean? What makes a tune DJ-friendly? It means
like where like you just get a subtle amount of lyrics over the track, and it's not all vocals. Okay. So they can mix it with other tunes.
It gives them sort of
ballads, So they're hearing my voice, but they might not know it's me. But when they hear my voice on another track, they're like, "Oh, that was him in there."
And then with that, are there any projects that you can share with us? Is there anything that you've got upcoming that you'd like to share? Any sort of releases coming up or anything like that you can tell us about?
I've got some, but I can't talk on them. I've got one that I can tell you about, which is out the bag. I went to a volume night. I wasn't actually booked for the show, but I still went because obviously I still am part of volumes on the bass as well. I'm still very much part of that locally. But I wasn't booked for the show, but I went there, and obviously I turned up and Didge was like, "Look, Tanz, we can't have you here and you're not going to be on stage. Like, you're definitely playing tonight." I was like, all right, I'll play. Give me my rider and give me the mic. You know, so I ended up going on that night, and it was a Jungle Cakes takeover at the O2.
Okay.
I hosted it for Decline, and then Ed Solo was there. Got chatting to him, really nice guy. He ended up following me on Instagram, like showing a bit of love on my posts. I got chatting to him, and he said, "Yeah, I really like what you sound like, your tone of voice. And I've listened to some of your stuff, and it's really good. Let's work on a track." And we're working on a track called Taser. So that's coming out on Gorilla Sounds, I think it is.
Yeah, Guerrilla Sound. Yeah.
Gorilla Sounds.
Guerrilla
Yeah.
Warfare.
Guerrilla Warfare. Sorry, Guerrilla Warfare. Yeah. So that's an up and coming release for everybody to look out for. Obviously, another DJ friendly tune.
Nice. So that's you, Ed, just you and Ed Solo on that one.
Me, Ed Solo, and 4K.
And 4K. Right.
It's from
Wales, okay.
Really, really talented.
Okay.
Producer.
Well, I look forward to that. When's that coming out? Do you know when?
Near future. Okay, I haven't got a date.
Near future.
It's in the near future. And we've got some higher level tracks that we've recorded. But we're just scheduling the releases on them ones. Yeah.
Brilliant. So we just need to, look out onto your socials. I know you're so good on social media, so I know that that's the first place that people will see that. In terms of social media, you do a lot on Instagram, but you've got your YouTube channel as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Spotify and all the likes. How do you keep up with all that stuff and actually do everything else? Do you do it all yourself, or how do you do everything?
I run it all myself at the moment. I still work full time, so I'm not full time music. I still work full time in the day, and then I think where I live alone, when I get home, I just try to work on my goals. So I always do something every single day to do with music, because that's ultimately what I want to do. I don't want to get up and go to work. I want to wake up and make music for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I think you're going to get there, Tanz. I know you're going to get there as well, but I don't know how you find the energy. So that must be the passion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just the love for it as well. Like, I love doing it, and it gives me something to do. It keeps my mind occupied. It keeps me ticking. Like, I've always been a big believer in, like, you're only going to ever get out of life what you put into it. So the more you really try to get to the top, you might get there, but that's still at the top for me. You know what I mean? So I always keep pushing your goals, keep pushing your dreams, and just never give up on yourself, and improve. Like, take criticism. I've took criticism. I've listened to what people have said. I've took advice from some of the best in the game, which I've been blessed with. Like linking up with Shabs, like I said, in lockdown, me and Shabba, we were chatting about fishing. I see Shabba put a video of him carp fishing. I'm into carp fishing as well. So we were like, yo, there's no shows. Let's go fishing, mate. So he was like, yeah.
Because that was massive for Shabba. He was doing that. So I listened to a podcast that he did with DJ Ron, and he was talking about his fishing thing over the lockdown. That really took off, didn't it? So we started
a business. Me and Shabba started a business called Rod's Wheels and Bass, with some other guys, and we ended up linking up with some of the biggest fishermen, I'd say, in the world, not just in the country. Like your Alan Blair's, he works for a company called Nash, along with Ollie Davies. Like, these guys are massive. They've got way more followers than I ever have, and more views on their stuff. But these guys are also into their drum and bass.
No
They
way.
can DJ and things like that. So we wanted to be professional fishermen. They wanted to be professional DJs, and it's kind of like we've gelled like that and become really good friends. So yeah, we ended up starting a business up. We were doing like social. So if people who like fishing and like drum and bass or any kind of music, we was going to, like, camping out on lakes, and interacting, and you're getting to meet your favourite DJ. We took Benny L fishing. He loved it. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And we've still got plans in the future to do some like little mini fishing festivals.
And it's such a sort of it's almost like I can't imagine what the atmosphere must be like. But in my mind, I've never been fishing before, Tanz, so just humour me. But in my mind, not yet. It's the right kind of music, you might find me down there. But it seems like such a stark sort of contrast. You've got like drum and bass, which is like drum and bass, and then you've got like fishing, which I imagine to be like really sort of calm and just be quiet because you're not scared of fish.
It is to wake up to wake up under the stars almost, like, and you get out and you've got the tranquility of the water. And it's not just about catching fish, it's the socialising, cooking food together, and seeing the wildlife all around you. You know what I mean? The birds, the ducks, even the little insects, and you'll get a sparrow come and sit on your bag, and you'll be like, wow, feeding it and things like that. It's a big, like, massive contrast to being in a massive wave where all this music comes in. But it kind of goes hand in hand because you kind of need that balance. It's the balance, you know what I mean? You can have it's all mental up here, and then you bring it back down here, and it balances each other out, something.
And it must sort of like recharge your batteries, because that's the other thing. You know, you talk about having, you know, a lot of artists come into this doing two jobs basically, day job and then doing gigs on the weekends and stuff like that. Energy, like I can't even imagine that recovery. So it's good to, like you said, have that balance. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good for the mind. Like we take people that don't even fish. They just come with us because they just want to be outside.
Yeah. Just get out of the sort of the thick of it. Get out of the city and actually just
definitely. It's good for the mind.
Definitely, that's brilliant. I mean, I know as a sort of a person who can sometimes be creative, when you give your mind that proper break, you come back with, you're just so much more creative on the other side of it, because you've just allowed the noise to settle, and then it's almost like a bit of a reset, isn't it?
100%.
So I bet you come back you must write some lyrics after those trips.
Yeah, definitely. Come back from there. It's like, sometimes like, I'll never force my lyrics out. Like, I like to take my time with them. But if like you said, when I've been away, like relaxing, fishing, say for 3 days, and then I'll come back to the studio, I'll be like, yes, I've not been here for 3 days. Now I'm ready to work. Now I'm ready to write some bars. Now I'm ready to play that tune that I've been playing for 4 hours and I couldn't write nothing to it. You know what I mean? Now I'm ready to, and the inspiration will come back to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, yeah, I hope that does relaunch. I think Shabba was saying that on that podcast. He was saying that it kind of took a break and that it was going to relaunch it. I didn't know it was something that you guys were doing together. So that's news.
Yeah.
Before we sort of go into, before we sort of wrap things up almost, are there any other pieces of information is there any other advice that you would give to anyone who wanted to come up in this scene?
As an MC, I'd say keep writing, keep learning your bars, keep pushing them out there. Don't oversaturate it, but just keep consistent online mainly. Like if you're online and you're consistent and you're putting out quality work, and you surround yourself with the right people. Like it's not, they ain't got to be famous people. Like I was lucky to like go fishing with Chav, and he did really give me a boost, putting me on certain stages. But if you've got it and you believe in yourself, you believe that you are good enough, and just keep practicing, make some quality music, and surround yourself with good people that are not like people that have always wrecked out their head and things like that. Get some good friends around you, and keep pushing, and don't be scared to go and play somewhere for nothing. Like when I started, I was playing for nothing everywhere. I never asked for it off anybody. I was just there. I entered so many competitions as well, like ones that I knew was rigged, because I didn't know I was better than the people that was winning them, but I felt like I was better. But their mates was winning them, and I was getting like, I was phoning my boys up saying, "How has he won that?" And I've not even placed in that competition. They're like, "Tanz, just a promo for the night." They're having on. Don't worry about it. You're good still. But don't let if you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, keep going. Just keep going, because I believe everyone will get the chance. If you're talented enough, your talent will shine through, and work rate and talent go hand in hand. So you could have the most talent in the world and not have the work rate or the consistency, and you'll get nowhere. But you might not be the best MC in the world, but if you're consistent with it and you work hard and you keep pushing your goals and you keep putting it in people's faces, you will get somewhere. You'll get noticed, and you'll definitely get heard. And then if you are good enough, someone will take you. Someone will offer you for the track. One DJ or producer will want to work with you. So consistency is the key. Be humble. Go back. If you get backstage, if you're lucky enough to be backstage, be humble. Don't try and push yourself in people's faces. Just be yourself, and hopefully people will take to you, and you'll get talking to the right people, because it's a very small community when you actually look at a drum and bass. Like,
It is.
If you started now as a DJ, there's a good chance that within a year of you DJing, you're gonna rub shoulders with the people that you idolize, or you'll probably be on the same stage as them. So if you can learn your craft, and then people will see you perform and they will take note.
Yeah, it's brilliant advice. I can't wait to get this episode out there so that people can just hear that, because I think, and the other thing that you said a bit earlier on in the conversation as well, and that's come up quite often, is take criticism. When you talk about having the right people around you, I think those people have to be people who can give you honest feedback as well, and actually say when things are off, because that's important for a person's growth, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'd get disheartened sometimes if I wasn't winning these early MC competitions, and be like, I've seen people on Facebook more. They're like, I've been DJing for 10 years and I'm not getting anywhere, and it's not fair, and I don't like it. The scene's rigged and all that, and it's really not. It's not rigged. Like, there's no magic pill that someone gives you and go, right, now you're the man. You're going to be good. You're going to be good. It's all based on attitude and consistent work.
Yeah. Love that. It's motivating me to do the things that I need to crack on with as well, actually. So love these conversations. All right, Tanz. So before we finish up, I'd like to play a fun round of this or that, all very lighthearted. None of these questions are serious, but they are challenging questions nonetheless. So let me get my questions up.
Let's go.
Okay, I've got a few sets here. I've got 3 sets, and I'm just going to pick from each of them. So the first one I will ask you is this or that, iPhone or Android?
Android.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Okay. City break or beach holiday?
Beach holiday.
Okay. Do you prefer to listen to music through headphones or through speakers?
Speakers.
Okay. All the artists say speaker, bar my sister, all the artists say speakers. That's so interesting. Festival or rave?
Festival. You can't beat a festival. That's the popular.
It's definitely a popular. I think pretty much everyone has said festival that asks that question too. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Film or series?
I don't really watch TV. It'd have to be a film, because I could never sit down and watch a series ever. I don't think I ever have.
Film. All right. Okay, really?
Yeah, never watched like a box set or something. Never.
Yeah. Well, you ain't got time, to be fair. You got all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
Not much time. Okay. Would you prefer to have an all expenses paid trip around the world, or £100,000 in cash?
I'd probably say 100 grand.
And then last question, I was trying to decide which one I was going to go for, but I'm going to go for, would you rather have hair made out of teeth or teeth made out of hair?
Oh, I don't know. No, it'd have to be that. It'd have to be the teeth for the hair, because I could just put a hat on and hide my hair then.
So you'd rather have your hair, so you'd rather have teeth for the hair, so you'd rather have your hair made out of teeth?
Yeah, I couldn't have hair.
Okay.
Oh, I hate hairy teeth. Yeah, you're horrible.
Doesn't sound great, does it? Amazing. Oh, Tanz, thank you so much for today. It's been wonderful speaking and to finally actually speak to you properly, because like I said, we've followed each other for a while, so it's actually really nice to finally catch up and really hear your story. There's so much that I learned about you today. So thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Appreciate you having me on.
Brilliant.